Hey, what's up everybody? Ruff here bringing you a video on Hellions. The reason I'm doing a video on Hellions is because you could take advantage of the fact that the Hellion is a mineral only unit that does splash damage. So the idea here is just to kind of give you an idea of how the Hellion should be used when playing against opponents in StarCraft. So there are various different kinds of openings when using Hellions. Sometimes it's definitely the backbone to any kind of mech build. So what I'm going to show you here is that the Hellion can be used initially in the beginning offensively to do harassment to Zerg opponents or Terran opponents. Normally, if you're going to do any kind of harassment with Hellions against Terran opponents, that's going to be done normally against a fast expanding Terran. And you normally can't figure out that a Terran is going to fast expand unless it's a map like Tal'Darim, which you can take advantage of Hellion openings. So as you can see here, this is actually a Zerg opponent that I'm playing against, and I'm showing you exactly what to do harassment-wise against Zerg with Hellions. So there's tons of different things. You can normally do run-bys, kind of like what you've seen here, or you can kind of just pick at units like queens from a distance. Now, this is a match before the recent patch with the queen upgrade, so Hellions aren't as effective now because of that, but you can still take advantage of doing run-bys and trying to get those juicy drone kills, as you can see there when they bunch up. Now here you notice that I have a bunch of Marines, a bunch of SCVs, and a bunch of Hellions, and you notice that the Zerg has roaches. In this kind of situation, when you can tank damage with other units, like let's say SCVs, you can utilize that splash damage like what I was talking about with the Hellion. Technically, you don't need to be fighting light armored units when you have Hellions in bunches like this, because the splash damage is so powerful, kind of like siege tanks against a bunch of Marines. Like if there's only like one or two tanks supported by nothing and then a bunch of Marines split and come in, you're gonna kill a bunch of them. It's the same situation with Hellions. You know, if they're all bunched up, you're gonna kill lots of units, especially when you have 1,000 Hellions in your force. Now another thing is you can use a lot of other harassment tactics and go into standard play. Like you can do mech builds, as you can see here what I'm doing, or you can go into Sky Terran or do even dropship harassment with Hellions. I like to do dropship harassment. I like to do sniping units on the top of ramps with Hellions, as you can see here, by using a barracks for vision. This is just one of those builds that I like to utilize that I learned from a Korean player a long time ago. You know, by taking advantage of those situations when people are fast expanding and sniping supply depots, and then just doing a run-by in their base by using the vision for the barracks, the Hellions can be extremely deadly. So as you can see, in the early stages of the game, a lot of players will go non-heavy armored units, which basically means Zerglings and Marines. Now with Protoss it's a little different. Sometimes they'll get Stalkers over other units, which makes the Hellion opening not as good against Protoss, but definitely really good against Zerg and Terran. As you can see here, you can do other sorts of harassments like drop ships with the Hellions. This is actually one of those harassments that I like to do that keeps a lot of players on their toes, especially when the Terrans don't have any kind of stim pack. It definitely forces a lot of SCV kills when they can't catch your Hellions and you're running all around their base. On the other hand, with Zerg, it's a little harder to do a Hellion drop, primarily because Zerglings are so quick that they can get surrounds off, so you have to be very careful with your micro. So here, I'm playing against a Protoss player, and I'm doing a fast factory opening, and I'm actually doing a proxy Hellion build, which is pretty nice. So you can actually utilize proxies as well to kind of hide your tech and then kind of just do the run-bys into the enemy bases. This is one of those things that I like to do when playing against Protoss opponents, is kind of hide my tech around a corner somewhere on the outside of my base and then kind of just rush in and attack the Protoss player without them even knowing what's going on. A lot of players will keep probes and zealots or stalkers in front of your base, watching for when you move out before they have observers. So this is the idea behind doing this. So there's a lot of different kind of builds out there for the Hellions, and a lot of different ways to utilize them. I think in this game, though, I don't get into his base primarily because I was delayed on my build. But as you can see here, 99% of the time the Protoss will only have one sentry and not this many. So definitely was delayed on this build, but as you can see, if you can rush into that base, you can kill a lot of probes really easily without them even knowing. So here, I'm playing against a Zerg opponent, and the upgrade for Blue Flame is very important when you're playing against Zerg or Terran, primarily because you do additional damage to Zerglings and Marines. Now, against Marines, it takes a little longer to do damage, and you normally still have to shoot 4 times when they get combat shields. However, when you're playing against Zerg, it only takes 2 shots on Zerglings, so if you're going to play any kind of mech play against Zerg, you always want to get Blue Flame, primarily because of Zerglings. So as you can see here, a nice thing about Hellions is also map control. You can find out where enemies are on the map. You can go all over the map, kind of like Zerglings can, because it's a really fast Terran unit. And not a lot of Terran units are quick, primarily because you'd have to waste HP by stimming or something with bio units. So the Hellion is definitely good for scouting out other expansions. So here, Hellions are the backbone of any kind of mech army that you want to use against Zergs. So here you can see that the Hellions, I had them in the front, which was actually a bad idea. You normally want to keep your Thors and tanks in the front. That way your Hellions will engage correctly. So as you can see here, I do have my Thors and my tanks up there, and what you want to do is you kind of want to bait your Hellions back whenever you get attacked. As you can see here, I'm getting attacked again, but because I have this big huge ball of units, the Hellions are just roasting all the Zerglings in the front, and then it's just a matter of taking out the heavily armored units in the back with your other mech forces. Also, Hellions are extremely important when you're fighting against Broodlords, primarily because they can get rid of those Broodlings so quickly that you don't get swarmed by mass Broodlings as well. So that's the whole reasoning behind having enough Hellions in your army when fighting against any kind of Zerg opponent. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions, just pop them in the forum. Alright, laters.